Konnichiwa and welcome everybody back to Chron Reviews. It's time for yet another dinosaur review, and this time it's a follow-up to the Beast of the Mesozoic Raptor series review of the Velociraptor mongoliensis, and this time I will follow up with another Velociraptor, which is the Velociraptor Osmolskae or Osmolskae. I don't know exactly the pronunciation, but it's another species of Velociraptor that is a secondary species that's lesser known, but they are pretty much anatomically similar. There are a few scientific differences, I think, but I'm not exactly sure what the differences are. I think there was something on the skull and stuff like that. But this one is the red version. There was a blue version that was a Kickstarter exclusive. I don't have that one. And there is another exclusive version, which is the alpha, which have like more of a white bluish head and neck. I really like that one too, but I wanted to get this one first, and maybe I will build a pack later. But here it is, the Velociraptor Osmolskae, and it have a nice artwork here of the dinosaur itself, and it's a 1:6 scale dinosaur figure as well. On the bottom there's the text and stuff, and on the side there's this raptor artwork. And on the back you can see all the different ones. You can slide this off and see more raptors like that. And on the top there is also the Beast of the Mesozoic. And there's a nice window there. You can clearly see the dinosaur figure inside. And there's this nice shine to the text and stuff. The packages are really nice and really attractive to look at. And it says there the specs of the figure itself. And it's a nice thing, you can, if you have removed it from the clam packaging, you can still always just put it back in and slide it back in, so you can always go back to displaying them in the package if you want to, even if you open them up. So there are nothing to lose by opening them up, even if you are a keep them in package lover, but you can't decide, you can just slide them back in if you want. So that's a good thing about this type of packages as well. So let's just get this one out of the box. And here it is, the Velociraptor Osmolskae out of the package. And this one, I like this one as well. It have a really neat different color scheme compared to the Velociraptor mongoliensis. And its accessories are, first off, it's the base. This one is basically the same sculpture as the mongoliensis base, but in a little different tone on the sand and on the rocks. And here on the underside is the two pegs where you can click on the spare feet, well, running posture feet. So you just click them onto the pegs underneath like that, and you can store them well hidden underneath. I think that's a neat way to store them without losing them, and that's a nice addition. And here is the other feet, or more like the other toes, because the rest of the foot is permanent on the figure. And there's different components, for one for the chest area and one for the area further back where it's a little bit slimmer. So this one grips better, so if you want a jumping pose you should use this, and this one is nice if the balance is more heavy towards the front of the figure. And there's also 3 different rods in different lengths. One very tall one for high jumps, one short one, and one medium one. And there's this curved part, which is for different balancing and angles as well. And whoops, I dropped it. Hold on, where did it go? Ah, there it is. Hold on. Here is the collector card with a nice artwork, basically the same as on the package, but a more complete view of the card itself, with information of the species, and there's also a picture of the figure there, so that's quite nice. And the backdrop of the package was really nice in this one. I like this way more than the mongoliensis backdrop. That one looks more like a cheaply cut together Photoshop of an environment. This one looks like a nice photograph. And onto the raptor itself. The articulation of this figure is just like the Mongoliensis. It have the neck movement, jaw movement. You can also move a ball jointed tongue. And there is the ball jointed arms with cut jointed elbows and cut jointed hands. And there's a torso joint. I think this one is a lot more poseable than the Mongoliensis. I think it was a little stiff on the Mongoliensis, so I never really realized it had this much movement, but there's a lot of movement. And there is the ball jointed legs and knee joints and this, I think, ankle joint and jointed feet. You can turn the toes in different angles, and the sickle claw is also jointed. I think that's something that's lacking on most dinosaur toys, is a jointed sickle claw. Jurassic World toys really would have needed that. There's one though, the Kenner Utahraptor have a articulated claw, and I love that. And then there's the tail part, which on this one also can be put in low or high joint. You can remove this part, and this one was just clicked in, and you can remove it again if you want to, but it's nicely ball jointed, and the tail are bendy. And the paint application on this one is quite nice. It's have a nice wash to the feathers to give some toning. There is some different tints of the red and wash so that it doesn't always go together perfectly, but in general it's very nice. I think they should have gone with the wash all the way up on the head, but I think they wanted to achieve that it was darker around this area and brighter here. I can live with it, but I think it should have been washed all over. But then the eyes are really nicely painted. And the inside of the mouth and the teeth are beautifully painted. Mine have a little bit of the snout are slightly bent to the left, so it looks a little bit better when opened up. That's a minor thing. Then there's nicely painted hands and some orange feathers in between the red ones. The first release had white feathers there. I'm not sure which version I prefer, but this one is still nice. And I love how the feet look like they're painted like bird, the skin, yellow skin of bird feet. It looks really realistic. I like that. So this one have a more interesting color scheme compared to the Mongoliensis. So I sort of prefer this one in a way. It's a little bit more striking. But I still like the darker, more natural scheme of the Mongoliensis as well. It's a hard pick. And there we go, the Velociraptor Osmolskae posed up on the base. And I picked a little more standing pose on this one, but it's having its foot slightly on one of the rocks. And I used the curved part there to attach, because this rod was slightly too long for the pose, and that rod was slightly too short. So that curved part actually came in very handy there. And I really like this raptor. I mean, I like the pose I managed to do too. It's simple, but it still look real somehow. And I dig it. So let's compare this nice raptor to the Mongoliensis. And I think both of them look great together. I think the parts on them are identical, except that they have this extra mane of feathers on the Mongoliensis. But the alpha version of this one, with the white head I told you about at the start of the review, it does have this mane, so The other Velociraptor mongoliensis also do not have the mane, so both of the species have one version with and one version without the mane of feathers, so I think both of them are pretty much the same identical parts. I can't see any difference in them, but it does make sense. It's basically two species of Velociraptor that's almost identical. I'm not sure if there are any minor sculpting differences on the heads or stuff, but I don't think so. They look very, very alike. Except this one I painted with slightly bigger eyes, and that one is painted with slightly smaller eyes. But I think there are differences in them by doing different color schemes. So the Osmolskae seem to have more colorful color scheme, and the Mongoliensis seem to keep more natural color schemes. But that's okay with me. I mean, it makes a nice, a very nice excuse to put them together in a pack. So if I would get the other two colors of each, I could build a pack of 4. Potentially 5 if I get the Kickstarter exclusive blue Velociraptor Osmolskae, but I don't think the blue matches up as nicely with the red, because the alpha is red and white, so it would look better together with the red versions and then the Velociraptor Mongoliensis versions. And those are 1:6 scale, so I'm just going to simply put my 1:6 scale Blackrock shooter here, like I did in the other review, to show you the size of the raptors together with a 1:6 scale human. And if you want to see the scale together with some Mattel and Kenner and the Reborn Velociraptor, check the Velociraptor Mongoliensis review, because I compared a lot more figures there to get a hunch of the size. But I think they look nice. It really, really works nicely together. So if I have to pick a favorite out of those two, I think for natural simplicity this one is nice, but this one is nicer for its more striking colors. So it's a very tough choice. But I think overall I prefer the Osmolskae, because of I really like the stronger colors and the bird feet. I mean, it's a really nice effect. It's really nicely done, and I really, really like that. So my pick would be this one, but I still think for the name of Velociraptor mongoliensis being the most classic dromaeosaurid ever, it's nice to have it as well. So I hope you found this review helpful, and until next time, take care and sayonara!